Hello and welcome to another episode of Burn Bridges, brought to you by the Creative Catalyst. I'm your host, Michael Crown, and today I have a lovely young lady. She is a business owner, entrepreneur, mentor, health enthusiast, and all-around virtuoso. Tangela, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
I greatly appreciate you sharing your very busy schedule and time with me and hopping on and, having a fruitful conversation.
Absolutely. Look, I like that. I caught
Absolutely.
that.
That's what we're about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, how's your day going so far?
So far, so great. Look, great day. It's a beautiful day outside. It starts off
Weather?
so cold, but weather-wise.
Oh, yes.
It starts off really cool, but it starts to warm up, and look, I don't want to jump into topics, but we're at a juice bar, so it's always great when it's warm outside. It gets everyone in the mood.
Yeah, this cold is something else. I came from a hot climate. That's what I'm used to.
Same.
I
Look,
just can't do
I
the
am
cold.
I am a true South Florida girl, born and raised in Miami, Florida. And even during Christmas time, it would probably be no more than about 70 something degrees.
Yeah, so that's comfortable. That's
So,
good.
yeah. So Tallahassee was definitely a weather shock for me initially.
So, just to get into things, since you told us where you're from and everything, let's get a little bit of a backstory about you. So, if you can tell the audience, aside from where you're from, like what are your roots?
So I am originally born and raised again from Miami, Florida. Raised by a Geechee Gullah grandmother. And my grandfather, my dad's mom, is Bahamian. So I have those roots, but really raised like a South Florida girl.
Okay.
And I definitely, my grandma was so instrumental. I always talk about her and everything, but she was so instrumental in the things that I do now and growing up and just, rearing us up. So a lot of those things is what you see today.
Oh, good. Okay. So South Florida. Have you always lived in South Florida or just in Florida in general?
So I lived in South Florida up until it was time for college. So I came to Tallahassee to attend Florida A&M University. I am a Rattler at heart. Also worked on campus for over 7 years. But a FAMU alum, and I just never left Tallahassee. So I am still here today. I have been Tallahassee over 10 years, so about 15 years now.
Okay, 15 years. I'd say it was.
Yep, new home.
Okay.
New home for sure.
How's the moderate city in comparison to the large city? In comparison, how is it?
There is some similarities, but a lot of differences. And one of the things I love the most, I think, is that it's much slower pace.
Right.
I love the big city. I love being able. Well, one, I love the food, obviously, but just having that variety of food, being there near the beaches, the tropical different fruits and vegetables and seafood. But Tallahassee has that Southern Belle feel. Again, more family oriented. Not to say that South Florida isn't, but it's just so much more robust. And I think those are one of the things that I definitely fell in love with as far as Tallahassee. Yeah. So
Okay. So
those are the big differences for me. But I definitely still miss that city. I always say I live in, I wouldn't call this the country, but somewhat country for me. But I definitely still have a big city girl at heart.
have you lived anywhere in Georgia before?
I have not, but my family is from Georgia. On my mother's side, they are from Vidalia, Georgia, which is maybe about 2 hours away from Tallahassee. And
Okay.
if you know Vidalia, you know Vidalia is known for their sweet onions. Very, very rural
Ah,
South. And we would visit every summer when my great grandmother was alive, because that's where her family was, and we would have to go out and pick our food so that we can cook. Um,
oh,
but
food
yeah,
natural.
so I
Okay.
and my family, yeah, my family is still there, but I've never lived in Georgia.
From what I've picked up, a lot of people have said that Tallahassee feels more like South Georgia than it does Florida.
Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I agree. And you see how close we are to the border. I mean, you go 30 minutes out, 20 minutes out, and you're in Georgia. So it is very close.
And I think that's
And
where
I
the
would
country
say
aura
if
come
it
from.
if you if it was possible to take away the universities, we would definitely be true, you know, Georgia, North Florida, South Georgia.
I think that's pretty much, yeah, where the country element comes in, that southern element.
Right, right, right.
Would you say
Yeah,
that
I agree.
would you say that where I would say from when you first came to Tallahassee, and obviously a lot has
Mhm.
changed because it's rapidly changing. Every month we're finding out something's opening, something's closing. Would you say
True.
that there's a significant difference from when you first got here in comparison to the day?
I would say yes. Of course, there is a significant difference, but also I think my perspective was totally different coming in as and when I say coming to Tallahassee as a 18-year-old versus now being in my early 40s. Um, so the things that I was interested in at 18 years old, um, I wouldn't probably be interested now, vice versa. Um, so that perception is also different. But the
Mm.
city has definitely changed, and I know for sure because when my friends come visit or different things like that, or they'll come for homecoming, or that at this point now they're bringing their kids to college. They're always talking about, wow, how things have changed and how some things are, exactly the same.
Yeah, I've always really been here, I would say, a little over 5 years, going on 5 years now. And I believe I've been spoiled, by, Atlanta. I'm used to the abundance of just eateries and shopping.
Right.
And so when I come here and I find out that they have certain kind of stores and malls, I'm excited because that's what I'm used to. But then
Right.
in these most recent times, as I'm finding out, oh, they're closing something down. It's a good and bad thing, because when I hear, oh yeah, that mall or that store, oh, they've been here over 20 years, and then they end up
Yeah.
closing it, and then that's it.
And that is very true. And I think we might have that similarity as in that big city of having so much variety. Um, that's one thing I do miss. I said that before. But things are always closing. And I just feel like it's a very tough climate right now economically. And what you see with those closing businesses is of the impact, whether it be pre-COVID or after COVID, but it has been challenging for many.
So coming from Miami, and I can say at this point I came from Atlanta, even though born and partly raised in LA. Would you say that coming from large cities that have a hyper focus on progression and the creative arts and just overall entrepreneurship, how was that transition in regards to coming from a large city into a smaller city and either bringing a business or creating a business? How would you say that transition or shock was for you?
I think now, one, I'll say with having children, because what I look for is I look for those experiences that I had in South Florida like you said, with the cultural art studios, I mean, with so much variety of culture, I look or want those things for my kids, and I'll say that or I feel as though it may be, somewhat limited in Tallahassee compared to, what I grew up with. That has definitely been a challenge. Sometimes, making me want to move back or move somewhere else, to grasp that culture. Um, and that's kind of how I came up with the idea of my second business, which is the Juice Bar Miami, because it was something that, those things, that culture that I didn't have here, I actually said, hey, let me create it. And I created the concept of the juice bar with those tropical and exotic fruits, having that tiki South Florida feel, even to the point of where we chose our brick and mortar location in the art district. But again, because just looking for that richness of arts and culture and the excitement behind it, because we are also very festive, so we're always having events and festivities, and it's so many different groups of people, so it might be this day or that day, so many different options of food. So that was one of my inspirations as to my second business. It's just to keep that alive and also give my children an opportunity, even at a distance, to have that experience.
Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, she did mention second business, right? First business was the Sweet Face Beauty Fusion.
Sweet Face. Yep.
Let's dive into that. I want to open that up. What's that about?
Okay, so Sweet Face established officially in 2016. Mm-hmm. I played with it a couple years prior to that, where I was just making products. I am also a family herbalist. I graduated from the Herbal Academy online. And these things, again, come from that grandmother again, who was that Geechee Gullah grandmother who, when we were sick, she had some kind of tincture in her refrigerator. Mm-hmm. Or, we had Cerasee on the fence for a detox. We had aloe in front of our house. So if you fell, you had to go cut your own aloe leaf off the plant, off the tree. And so these are the things that I grew up with, and I watched my grandmother, and I also was her helper. So I learned firsthand how to do these things, because she actually, would have me very instrumental in cooking and crafting and everything. So that was just in me. And so when I started my firstborn, my son, look, he loves when I tell this story, but I just wanted to be somewhat of I was already, but going a little step further, of being a naturalist. And I started crafting and making products. Sweet Face, ideally, again, like I said, was originally done or established in 2016. And everything is herbal based, so it's a beauty care line, a wellness is what I would love to call it, or what it is. With tinctures and sea moss and elderberry and bath and body products that are all herbal infused, and they have a wealth of medicinal properties. We are about being proactive about health and wellness, so knowing these medicinal properties of these items, so that way you're able to treat yourself. So you're not waiting, on a doctor or waiting until you get sick. But you are being able to incorporate these things in your daily life. And I also was very mindful about making it reasonably priced. So I started out at the farmer's market. It was one of the first places that I started selling my products, actually here in Tallahassee and Frenchtown. Yeah. And, I just wanted it, to where, everyone, or not everyone, but most people, the common people, would be able to afford these things, and make it real. So that is what Sweet Face is all about. Sweet Face, the name actually came from my son.
Hmm.
His photo shoot for his baby pictures. It was his probably one. I think it was his 3-month-old photo shoot.
Hmm.
But we did a shoot, and the pictures went viral because he was so gorgeous, and I grasped that name from also the photos. So I did Sweet Face because of those baby pictures.
Oh,
Yeah, we've
that's
been going
golden.
ever since.
Okay. That actually, and it's interesting that how you've had that natural spin, with the beauty products. I myself, I'm fairly familiar, with natural. Born and raised vegetarian for majority of my life, so my family were very into the natural, holistic type of remedies. I can remember we were almost never sick growing up, and if we did have a sniffle, it was gone before tomorrow.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, so it did, and to that extent, it did come natural because what I did was those things that, I learned, I started to incorporate them in my life. And then it started with my family because I wanted to do it for my kids and everyone. And then it started with my coworkers. Look, after that, then it was my coworkers who were like, "Can you make me this and make me that?" And then it somewhat became a job. So I'm like, "Hold on, wait. It sounds like a business."
Isn't it funny how that starts off like that?
Yep. And then that's where we came and we made it official with Sweet Face.
Very great, humble upbringing. That it's almost like you trip over an idea it usually takes others to notice it before you do. It almost seems like that.
Yeah.
Like you're just doing
something. I'm the eldest of about 12 kids.
Okay.
And so I'm always in the spirit of giving, sometimes because I didn't have a choice. A lot of times I didn't have a choice. So I have that maternal instinct of giving. And so, and Sweet Face and Juice Bar are really about community and sharing. Again, taking what you know and sharing it with others so that we're all better.
So with Juice Bar, which I find a really nice correlation between the two, and it is health-based generally. So you got your exterior, then you got your internal. So, let me ask you, has health always been the lane that you wanted to go into, even outside of business?
I remember in high school, I was in a health administration club. And actually in school, I wanted to be a nurse. So that was my thing. High school, I was in an administration club. My goal was to be an RN. And I wanted to help people. Look, I'm saying it, but I'm like, wow. I wanted to help others. And I wanted to do it in that health, I guess when I say in that healthcare field. But when I got to college, I chose fun. Because I was so happy to be free. I had a very, I'm so sorry.
Right.
I had a very, very strict mom. And like I said, I was the oldest of 15 kids, 12 kids, if we include my dad's kids. So I was just happy to be free. And so I chose that freedom. And then I put, my education somewhat on the back burner because I did graduate, but I didn't want a really academically aggressive program. And so I went to school for criminal justice, political science. I did that. I did corrections. I tried it out. I didn't feel it. Honestly, it just didn't feel good. It felt heavy. And so I ended up in finance and administration at Florida A&M University. And I was really good in that, and I am really good still in operations. But still always still having a passion for wellness and healthcare. And I actually ended up in the school of nursing. So it's almost like those things that are destined to be will be. And so yeah, so I'm still in the lane. Those still are the things.
So you probably say that more so caregiver in a general sense was your calling.
Absolutely.
Even if you tried to do
Yeah.
other things, you was always steered back into what
Back
mattered the
into
most.
those things. Absolutely. Yep. It's
So
that purpose. When you say you live in a purpose driven life.
yes.
And even when you choose something different, life has a way of just pulling you back in that direction. Some people fight it, but
Sure.
you have those signs, you have that intuition, you have everything you need.
So was
Yep.
business and entrepreneurial, was this in the horizon of what you thought on the beginning, or is this something that just later developed and turned into I need to make this a business, I'm really good at this has potential?
So I actually wrote this many years in my journal, and a lot of time my journal is my phone. I use my notes app because I'm somewhat of a techie. Look, we had that conversation before. So, but I can go back in my notes app. My notes app can go back 10, 15 years, and I can look at those things that I wrote and I journaled. And one of the things that I wanted to do, one was start a wellness center. So that's still in the making. But in that wellness center was going to be a juice bar, a cafe. And I wanted to do wellness products. So all of the things that I wrote, I've been working on them, and sometimes unintentional. But I think these were the things that I was set out to do.
Okay.
Some may say, but it was definitely things that I envisioned for myself.
So you would say that the footprints were already pretty much, they were there. They were already laid out.
Absolutely.
And
They
it
were
was just
laid
for you
out.
to lay your feet into it and just follow the journey.
Follow the journey, follow the path. Absolutely.
I like to highlight, the process of something, because I know that, as you're very aware, we live in a very TikTok brain microwave society where a lot of people want to get something quick. They want to skip, cut corners, cut the lines, and they just want to be in those positions. And with you not just having one business, but also a secondary business that has already touched a level of success that most businesses don't even get a chance to even reach those levels. Like, what would you say in reference to when you saw that, okay, now I can get a secondary situation from my first?
Okay. Oh, wait, say that last part one more time.
So from having the first business, that was your first business venture, what was that going through your mind as far as, I'm at a point now, you know what, I want to add on a second business on top of that, even though the first one is always going to be the most demanding, the most that's going to take the most out of you? What was that mental space like as far as that? Like, were you overwhelmed? Like, what was going on?
I won't say overwhelmed. One of my sayings to myself always is do it scared. So I wouldn't say that, everything probably always felt right, but what I knew is that I had everything I needed, or I tell myself, you have everything you need to avoid that procrastination. And one day at a time, one step at a time is what I always say. And that kind of go by that fly-by-night thing is what I kind of summed it up to that you just stated. But it definitely, it takes time, it takes work. And I always get that, because sometimes I think I make it seem effortless to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get those kind of responses from others because it's like, you got it, or, but it is, I'm not saying I don't have it, because obviously I do. but it definitely takes work. It takes effort, it takes doing the thing, it takes showing up every day, it takes consistency. And it's even things that may seem like an overnight success. Like I said, these were things that I written out and I planned for 10, 15 years ago. So that's just one of the things. Is just do the work, because it takes work for sure.
What do you say to the new generation of, we're in the generation where there are more entrepreneurial minded people today than there were since before the 90s. And I would even say, even as a millennial, you're in there as well, as we've embraced technology as it was being invented right in front of us. So now we have a generation who's born with that same technology that's already here. They're skipping the traditional trajectory of graduate high school, go to college, get a degree, get a job, and that's it, and retire. A lot more people are wanting to do things for themselves, and
absolutely.
I do believe that a great contributor happens to be social media in the scales of, I think folks that do what you do and what I do, they make being an entrepreneurial person, space, group, whatever, we make it look good. We make it look fun. It's inviting, it's mysterious, and I think a lot of people get caught up in it's like they have like star eyes,
Right.
What do you say in reference to, from what you've seen with that?
So I think I play somewhat of a devil advocate, because from an old soul, what it reminds me of is a bartering system. And it's like the newer generation is kind of going back to that, and so to speak, because they're cutting a lot of middlemen. They're cutting out a lot of corporate America, and it's getting back to small business, because essentially you have a talent and I have a talent, and we collaborate. That's what we're doing right now, to create something great. And it's allowing people to get back, even in the social media area with the 2-second videos. People are connecting more, and what it's a synergy that is creating a lot of what we would call overnight success. It's also creating a lot of wealthy people, rich people. It may be not so, many people that have reaped the benefits in a monetary way. But I love it, actually, and I actually try not to shy away from it, but use that to the best of my ability from a business owner, from the business perspective of being able to reach out to more people, because that is, to be honest, that's the way we're going right now. That's the way where it's happening, whether you're on board or not. It's happening. And I actually like to see it. I like that my son and my daughter, they actually are entrepreneurs as well. They're about 6 years in, and my daughter is only 9 years old, where they participate in Lemonade Day with FAMU School of Business.
There you go.
First year, they won Entrepreneur of the Year. But my son, for sure, not so much my daughter, but my son, we talk and converse about this. I'll ask him, what do you think about this? Or just to see his insight, but he gets it, and I love it. And his teacher told me, he says he wants to own his own business, and I'm all for it. I think he wants Juice Bar, to be exact. And listen, this is what it's all about. It's about building generational wealth, So if I don't see it in this lifetime, but my kids or my grandkids, can take this to propel this thing, and because one of my goals is to franchise, and make this a household brand, and I did my job. Yep.
You said something very key that I've heard it in like the talking points throughout social media, YouTube, and so forth. And I find it very interesting amongst, our neighborhood, blatantly speaking, black people, generational wealth, right? And
absolutely.
as much of it has been used and it's been essentially thrown around in most cases, would you find it that a lot of people don't really know what the weight of what that entails? Or is it that they like what it sounds like and what it insinuates? What are your thoughts on that?
I do agree. In particular, like you said, in our community, I think it's and ideally, some of it is systematic, but we do have that, I have to look out for myself, or I have to look out for me, because we're in such a hardship that we're not thinking about building for our family, for, generations to come, because we're, in that day by day toggle of, just survival. And so we don't even grasp the concept of generational wealth, because we're trying to figure it out today or for tomorrow. But I think those things need to be discussed. I think those things that awareness need to be brought to the forefront, because I am a first generation college student in my family. I'm a first generation, I am not a first generation business owner in my family. Actually, I grew up with my uncle having several restaurants. I will not tell that lie. And so I grew up around it. But so those things, like, again, those things, you can never take it away from a child once they experience that. But that is building generational wealth. Even if you didn't leave them $1 million, but you are setting things up to put into place so that they will not have to struggle as hard. You're making it so, and again, it's like that fly by night, but sometimes those little things matter. If you just do 2 things in your lifetime that will help the next generation, it doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be really big, but it should be impactful. Then you did your job. You did a great job.
So would you say that in this crazy world where no one's ever fully equipped to, to function in today's world, so what you're essentially saying is that you're wanting to equip the next generation with
Absolutely.
as much of a roadmap for the basics, the fundamentals, and then all they would have to do is take that roadmap,
keep it going. It's like
keep it going and drive.
When you absolutely pass the baton.
Yes.
Yep, you're doing your work. You're passing the baton.
So, I do have a question that, again, it ties into a lot of the things that are loosely being thrown around, again, on social media. Is there a difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner?
An entrepreneur is a business owner.
Okay.
Ideally. So is there a difference? No. Because an entrepreneur is usually someone that owns a business, or they have a product or service that someone else has a need for. There's a demand. And ideally, they put that product out there. So to me, there's no difference.
Okay.
Yeah. Some people may not want to claim entrepreneurship, but to me, there is no difference.
Yeah, as you know, it does carry a negative connotation. I think when people hear entrepreneur, they probably hear like a hobbyist that makes a dollar every so often, but not somebody who has real structure. I think when you hear business owner, it sounds more responsible than entrepreneur, and I think that's what they pick up on.
I mean, because either way, whether you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, that does not mean you're successful.
Right.
In either one of those arenas. it does not state to the facts
Right.
or the components of being a successful business owner and entrepreneur.
Right.
That's just the title. So for me to identify, okay, then, a business owner is more structured, but an entrepreneur is, because to me, an entrepreneur has to be very organized to be successful.
Yes.
They have to be consistent. They have to have that discipline. Both require discipline to be a successful in that arena. But to try to compare the two, to say one is just better than the other, I think they are both uphold major responsibilities, because they are both leadership roles. And with leadership roles, you have to do the thing.
So,
yeah,
what's not being shown on social media is the process of like either the day-to-day or taking care of the actual business, the unattractive stuff. Would you say that, do you feel like it is necessary that more of the behind the scenes need to be shown to give people more of a realistic image of what it looks
absolutely.
like to do that?
I was talking to someone this morning, and for whatever reason, I can't remember who it was, but I definitely remember the conversation. And this was the conversation that we had, was talking about the transparency of being a business owner, particularly on social media. A lot of people like to post the glitz and glamour or the success of, because it generates engagement. So we don't really talk about the ugly behind the scenes type things. Or we don't create videos for that and, posts and things like that. But I think that is very important, and actually that was our conversation, because they told me, well, they tried to hand me the baton, and they say, well, maybe you should do that. And I was like, and I'm okay with transparency, but I also feel like that's another job. But we're talking about mentorship. But I think that's very important, that business owners / entrepreneurs understand all the nuances of what that entails. Because just because you may be a hobbyist or you may have a product or service does not mean that you may have a successful business.
Right.
Because there are so many other components. One that I'm always talking about is branding and marketing. If you actually look at the structure of a major company, their marketing and branding budget is way more than their product service budget. Yes. Because they understand, what it entails to be successful. But, some may feel as though because they have a talent that it makes for a successful business.
I think since the dawn of it, what they say, it takes a little bit of talent and a whole lot of go-gettership and hard work and a whole bunch of other things that are not talent adjacent. And I think that people get blinded in thinking that, well, if I'm super talented, then clearly this has to work, or clearly I have to be picked, and I'm going to make my, get my foot through the door if I'm super talented.
Right.
I know that that's very bad with artists, specifically. That mindset is very bad.
I agree, but where else is bad? Because the first thing that came to mind is in athletics.
Really?
Because when an athlete thinks he is the best athlete, or he's the superstar on his team, or he's the superstar in his city or his county, we automatically think we're going to the pros and I'm going to be rich and do all these things. So I think I don't know if that's the way we're set up, or is that society, but it's not just in artistry, which, an athlete is an artist as well, because
True.
That's their talent.
Yeah.
That's their
That's
talent.
A nice way
They're
to look
really
at it.
good at that. Yeah, and they identify that if they can do that, their best, and they get all these highlights and accolades, and then they may go to college and it may not work out that way, or they get injured, or whatever the case may be. So
Yeah,
I won't say it's just, in that art arena, but that is, the rationale. But it's also, us trying to get to our American dream, or the things that we dream of,
sure.
or whatever we've created. Um, that's our best life. When I grow up, I want to be so and so, you know. But what we don't have to, what we learn along the way is that we have to take it in stride. And
Yes.
sometimes that trajectory may not go in that direction. It may be something totally different than what you was thinking in third grade.
I could definitely say it was like
So,
that for me, because at one point I really thought that I was going to be a songwriter and music producer. And I was juggling that and graphic design. And somehow graphic design was the thing that picked up the quickest. Like it caught wind quick. But I would say this, I didn't put my songwriting publicly. No one knew about it. So the graphic design was, I physically put that out there. It caught wind to someone. And then from there, that's how I was able to really get my footing through the door. So it's just like having a hidden talent that you're hoping, I really want to do this, but I'm not putting forth the effort to get it out there to be recognized. But the other talent that you would think that, oh, well, I just happen to like doing this. I don't mind doing it. It doesn't feel like work. I put it out there, but the demand shows you need to be doing this because this is, this has that potential to really grow into something. So for me, it felt like I put music away for a while.
right.
But I would say though that I do try my best to incorporate elements of the process of writing a song into my visual art. So then that way I don't really feel like I gave up on something. But that's my choice. That's not the prerequisite, I would say. But it is something that I don't feel as guilty not being a music artist versus being a visual artist. So I just found it in myself to take the initiative to say, hey, if I want to include this, I might as well find a creative way of still cultivating a lot of that skill.
Absolutely. And that sounds great. That's a great way to look at it, and a great way to incorporate. So do you do like music as a hobby?
I would say
Play
in recent
music as a
times,
hobby?
I've actually dusted off the idea of picking back up my instrument. More so for recreational and escapism. I want to break away from something without having that pressure of I have to make money with it. And I just want to get back into playing my instrument and just having like a zen mode, a peaceful thing that has no pressure tied to it. I would say that I came from youth orchestra, so I played.
So
Uh-huh.
go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish. I'm sorry.
So I played the upright bass, the jazz bass, the classical bass, and fell in love with it since a kid. And throughout the years, as painting and drawing took off and did its thing, I slowly neglected it and just put it away. And so I felt like, you know what? I did a lot of work to learn how to play that instrument. I would really hate to just not do it at all. So that has been something that I wanted to bring back just for the sake of, I just love doing it.
Yeah. And so what I was going to ask you is, what would you consider your something that's something more of a hobby or a happy place? Like something that you do for fun versus for profit.
I would say,
would music be one of that?
I would definitely lump playing music. I would say I don't write anymore. Definitely listening to music. I listen to all kinds of genres. Honestly, my library is ridiculous. Definitely a movie buff, because again, at one point I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I was setting the stones in place to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a director. I wanted to be a storyteller. So I had my hands in a bunch of hobbies, active hobbies. So it wasn't just I was talking about it. I was actively reading books. I was reading autobiographies of directors. I was trying to self-educate myself in preparation of going to school for someday, because I really thought that was going to take off. So I figured, well, if I surround myself with enough hobbies, filmmaking, music, graphic art, something has to work out. If I just make myself available in those spaces, something has to hit, something has to stick. So movies, I would say, are more of a nice guilty pleasure that I like to do. Probably number one would have to be reading. I love books. Love books. Definitely.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I would say for myself, one of the things that, look, even with Sweet Face before it was a business, I think I found a happy place, or I do find a happy place in the kitchen.
Okay.
And that's where I started making my products. Products was made in the kitchen.
Wow.
And that was where me and my grandma spent our time. This is where she would show me how to cook things, or I would help her make things, or I remember different food and different stuff like that. I also love family. So I love a nice social, like a family social, or outing, or gathering, or traveling with my family. Again, I have this wealth of siblings, but then my family is even bigger. My grandma had 20-something grandchildren. So at any given time, it was about 15 kids in the house.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm used to just being surrounded by family, and those things that I really enjoy.
Oh yeah, food makes everything
without profit, right? But then I turned it. I made it a way to actually make it profitable. And sometimes it feels like a lot of work, and it's not all that fun. But there's elements of it that have that love. With Sweet Face, I think one of our slogans is "Made with Love." That was from the beginning,
right?
But even with Juice Bar, it's the same. Like the ingredients, the combinations, and everything is made with love. So
it definitely holds its weight.
Again, look, you said, because it sounds like you're a caregiver, and there we are back again. The caregiver thing.
Ties, yes.
But no, that is my happy place. Yeah, that's a happy place for me.
Some of the best advice that I've gotten from someone was, if you were to pick something that you truly enjoy and you want to make money from it, it should be something that does not feel like work. It should be something that feels like a everyday thing, that
Absolutely.
You would do this for free, or you would do it at a high premium cost. Either way, it doesn't affect the very thing that you do.
Agree. I love that. And I also add to that, and that's how, again, you know that you're in your purpose.
Yes.
That you're, it's your path. It's not anyone else's path, but it's your path because it feels good. You're able to survive. You're able to thrive because you don't want to just survive. And again, now you can get into those things like generational wealth. So you're able to share. You're able to share with your community, your family, and that's how you know. That's how you know.
So, I know one of the few really good bullet point questions that I have here, that I'm certain a lot of folks would love your take and your input on it, is, if someone is a hobbyist and they would like to take what they do more serious, and they want to elevate it to a degree that it can potentially be a business, but they are very much in the fog as to how and where to start if they are coming from being a hobbyist. What would you
Wow.
say?
There are definitely a wealth of resources out there for business startups, but it's so crazy because I'm going into a new leap that I don't really want to talk about yet. But
Mm-hmm.
this new direction that I don't feel like it's a new direction because it's actually what I've been doing. But being a business owner time too, now I can share, information on how to and resources. So I would say one, so throw that out there, stay connected because there will definitely be more to come on this topic that I can't talk about just yet.
Okay.
But for a new business startup, I would start off with research. I feel like whatever your niche is, start. So my thing is always to pick three of my top brands um, that's in my niche that they're doing it big, and they inspire you.
Hmm.
Find three other companies or three brands that you find to be. I love Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
Find to be inspiring. Create you a Pinterest board of inspiration. Start to journal and write and start to do research because research is very, very, very important. You don't want to get into a business, you're not really knowledgeable. You don't, and not to say that it has to be perfect because we're not looking for perfection, but we know what you did is do the work. You're doing the work.
Right.
So do your research, try to find out who your market is, who's killing it in the game right now. Not to compete, but to be inspired. And then we're in the internet era. So you can go on and Google, what's the next steps or how do I start my business? But
Mm-hmm.
to make it official, the first thing you would do is, of course, get an LLC if you're coming out of a hobbyist. So we want to get our documentation. This is my operational side,
Yes.
talking now.
Yeah.
But we want to get our ducks in a row. We want to make sure that we have our EIN number from the IRS. We want to make sure that we're properly documented as an LLC. If there is any regulating bodies or agencies, to make sure that you're registered with those. And do those things. Open up your business bank account. These things are very, very, very important. Also, when you start to go out, if you're looking for investors or financial, we all need some financial help usually when we start in our business or we're looking to expand. So once you start to do those things, once you start to do those things, you're ready. You already have, because as soon as you go out, and then the next step would be a business plan. But taking those steps, so that way when you move forward, you have everything in order, and now we can move out of that hobbyist, I don't want to say mindset, but we're moving from one level to the next. We're moving to wherever we need to be. But those are the things that you want to consider, not only consider, but do. And if you haven't done it, get it done. Because it's never too late.
I think a lot of people who ask those questions, and it's just like what you said before about these resources are online, but it's
absolutely
the thing about it is, even though I'm certain that a lot of people know that they're online, but it's almost as though and I'll use this example. Someone who wish they had resources doesn't have resources versus someone who has resources but doesn't know how to use them. It's almost synonymous in a way.
Right.
So
absolutely. So that's another component.
Yes.
So maybe you're past step one and you're at step two of being strategic, because that's strategic planning. Now we're talking about operations, daily systems in place to make sure that you're running efficiently, so that you could step away from your business and it pretty much can still operate without you being present. Um, and so that is another component. But all of these things are very, very important. And again, it depends where you are,
Right.
because everyone needs are not the same. And again, I'm like, wow, you brought this up, but we didn't know where we were going, and that is absolutely fine. But yeah, we are working on something to provide these resources for the local community, and it should be coming out really, really soon. So I would definitely just say stay connected.
Okay. I definitely love to check back in and see how that is. I always like the mysterious, discreet, paths and things like that. I've always had this love-hate relationship when it comes down to, like, when people say what it is that they're trying to do, and they'll say coming soon, but something will be coming soon for like well over a year.
Like that Inception.
Oh yes.
Well, yeah, that's something different. But
oh yeah. Oh yes. So I'd rather it be a case, hey, can't talk about it right now, but it's coming. I'm like, okay, I'll take that.
Not right now,
exactly.
But it is coming for sure. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, this is a need, and me being in a community, as a business owner, as a African American Black woman business owner, and I'm out here. We have a food truck, so I'm on so many different platforms, and I still work a 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job usually. Most of the, so I'm wearing all these hats, but I just feel like there's definitely a need there when it comes to business operation. Yes, we have a talent. Yes, we have a service. Yes, we have the skills, but now how do I formulate this in a way that is successful?
I always like to use the analogy of a cliff, because I think that a lot of people, they think that it's a gradual elevation whenever they're needing to take the step and actually progress. But in true fashion, it's almost like you have to jump, and with a lot of the preparation that you're going to need to do, the research, the homework, everything that you've accumulated comes into the mixture pot of faith that your parachute and wings will pop out. Right?
Absolutely. I love it.
And I think that what a lot of people do is, you have some that have no issue with, oh yeah, I'll take that leap of faith, no problem. But they will be ill prepared. And so they run a higher chance of hitting those rocks on the bottom, because it seems like, okay, if you are prepared, you do your homework, you at least start the basics, you feel a lot more confident that something is going to shake because you're doing the work.
Yep. You got it. And that is what I think is fundamentals, but it's very, very important for my new up and coming young entrepreneurs, and even older entrepreneurs are just coming in new as a business owner, to understand your terrain. Understand your terrain. Be knowledgeable about your terrain. Do some research about what you may or may not be walking into.
Yeah,
because it helps, and it helps build confidence in what you're doing, so you may maneuver a little different.
Would you say that a lot of people, would you really put that blame on some of entrepreneurs that do a hyper focus?
Did you say blame?
I say this because it's been thrown to me, so I'm bringing it around full circle. Would you put blame on the entrepreneurs that show the nice lifestyle, all the good things that come with entrepreneurialism, would you say that they are to blame for only showing just that and not the real responsibility that ties into it?
Well, I don't like the word blame.
Exactly.
And again, sometimes it's especially on social media, it's chasing engagement.
Mm-hmm.
It's so you are doing. It's like that algorithm. What does this algorithm like? If I show them this, maybe I'm not doing as better as the person that's showing all the glitz and the glamour, and so you get into that rat race. And so I can't. I don't really feel comfortable with saying blame, because ideally that's what it's about. It's the chase of that engagement, or the hustle,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you want to call it. So, but that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be a challenge for time to come, because that's just going to be one of those ongoing battles.
Well, I've always thought that surely you can make the responsible stuff look just as sexy as
absolutely,
as the fun
and
stuff.
It's people out there that's doing it.
Yeah.
They're doing it very well, and it's real. It's authentic.
Yes.
So there's business owners out there like me and you that want to know and talk about the stuff behind the scenes, because everything is not pretty.
Oh, yes.
And again, I was in a marketing class one time, and they said, be authentic, because there are other people like you. And so they're gonna feel that synergy, and they will gravitate to you.
Yes. I can say that there was an artist, I won't say his name, but there was an artist that I've been following for years on YouTube, and I've watched this guy start from painting his art in what looked like his parents' basement, and all the way through, as I started to see his progression, and I'm seeing the kinds of projects that he's getting, and I'm really starting to see, this guy's really putting in the work, because look at that, his clothes is dusty, he got
and
stuff
how
in his
beautiful
face.
is that to see it the growth, to watch the growth. It's like watching a kid grow up.
It's exactly that. All the way to, I want to say it's been 6 or 7 years now. This guy, he comes out with a video, moving into my X amount of square foot studio building, blah, blah, blah. The thing looks like a compound, huge building, has people working for him. And it's like, wow, you see that progression. You see the evident work. And I'm not even going to pretend that I didn't fall off watching his content, because honestly, I felt a type of way. I felt a way because I felt like, dang, did he go Hollywood? Whatever happened to the grind and the struggle? What happened to that? It's like, now he has people doing that stuff for him. Wow. I would have never thought. What happened to do it all yourself? That's what I was programmed to think and do in my upbringing.
Right.
We're thinking you're not doing it if you're not doing it all yourself. Which ties in to my point of, what is that like for you when you finally took that step of delegating work? What was that like?
Well, another piece of that one, I have mentors. I have actually a coach. I have a life coach. I have a business coach, but I would consider it to be people that are wiser than me and more educated experts in life. But one of my leadership coach said, and I've read this numerous places before, but one of the characters of a good leader is someone who's able to delegate and elevate. Because if you are in that mindset, like you're saying, of trying to do everything and be in all places, Um, you only can go but so far
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to reach to your capacity. Um, but if you are talking about, which I think we all, or maybe sometimes we don't even think that far. You say, how did you get this far? How did you get to $1 million? They wasn't even thinking that far, or that wasn't even a part of the plan. But along the path, you have to learn to grow. Again, going back to research, you say you love to
Mm-hmm.
read books, but what you're doing, you're gathering knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So, you learn how to be a better you. You learning how to be a better business person. You learning how to be a better artist, a musician. And so you like, now you got to think about things you didn't think about before. But one of the number one things for a leader is to be able to delegate, elevate. So what can I take off my plate,
Right.
and give to someone else, and they can do it just as great or better than me. And those how people like the gentleman that you're speaking of, they progress to even higher heights.
And I think that even when it came down to it, that initial fear of if I change, then I won't be as authentic as I once thought, because it's a matter of the reality of you're letting something go. I think a lot of people get the wrong impression of what it means to elevate, because to elevate, you have to leave from a point to get to another point. People look at that as I'm giving up, I'm letting go, I'm no longer this person, I'm switching up, I'm changing up. I don't know how this is gonna do with either my family, my friends at the time, because a lot of people, as we want the acceptance of our family and our friends because they are the ones who know us the most. So if we do something that's gonna require us to change, it's out of fear of, well, what if I'm no longer accepted amongst my circle?
And then my question to that is, are you willing to stifle your growth for those things? Because sometimes and a lot of times when you are climbing the ladders of success or purpose, some things may toggle away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also know thyself, because things that you may consider, this is me, so even if I take that away, I'm not being me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But is that really how you identify with self? Or maybe that is the way you identify with self, but is that really you? Or is that a learned behavior? Because sometimes we just stuck on ideology. Learned behaviors.
Yes.
Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily, and again, it has the ability to cipher. So sometimes, growth is truly associated with letting things go. Letting things go, letting people go, being in the flow. Because things will change. People are going to change. Your positions are going to change. Change is evident. So you have to be okay with change.
I'm highly convinced that a lot of people have a very bad relationship with change. I'm thoroughly believing of that. And for me, I can almost say I'm used to it. Very, very used to letting people go, because from what I've seen, what's that?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So what I would say that in the recent time of like 5 years or so before I came to Tallahassee, I let a good deal of people go, but in the midst of letting those people go, I got really, really good at what I've been slaving away years at, and I was throwing countless hours. So it's kind of like, is it really considered a loss if I'm excelling over here, but I'm cutting this other part away? But I'm feeling better about myself because the thing that I was putting a lot of work in is finally really paying off. And it shows that, okay, wow, maybe me holding on to these people, this baggage is what was holding me back from taking off, because it almost like a rocket. It really did a rocket move for me out of the years I've been doing this. And it's like, wow, this is really taking off, and half the time that it took me to get to this point.
Interesting. Okay.
And I know everyone's different.
I gotta think about that one.
And that's people, but I think it could also be in reference to location, where you're staying, or wherever that you're currently, the position in life that you currently are with, whether it just be like lifestyle. If you are a person who is not a morning person, or someone who doesn't see value in staying up late to do the necessary work, whatever lifestyle, that you're accustomed to. If you're a chronic binge watcher of Netflix and Hulu, certain habits that you'll need to slow down or stop in order to put that time into nurturing the plant of a craft or business. Yes, it's sacrificing. It's
discipline. Sacrifice and discipline. Absolutely.
Yes.
Agree. Yeah, and this is just me, and I could be wrong, but I don't think this success that cannot come without that sacrifice. Yeah.
Absolutely not. And the day that somebody invents a way of being able to do that without that,
I'm on it.
100%.
I'm on it.
I mean, at the rate of what technology is looking now, I mean, we have Chat GPT, which I think messed a lot of people up.
Yeah, Chat GPT is going to be interesting.
It is.
I like to see that in the next, however many years, 10 years, 20 years. It's really going to change things.
Like, what's your view? What do you think about how it's going to pan itself out?
Well, I think for sure it's definitely going to dumb people down. Because it's making things a little more accessible. But as we move to, more and more into that technology area, it's all about convenience. So, things are getting a little bit easier, even driving a car. It's getting easier. So it's about that convenience. But what it's going to do is going to put a lot of people out, which kind of goes back to what I'm saying about that bartering system. And this is where this is going to be very beneficial for us with the entrepreneurial mindset, because we are going to be able to come together and work together to do things, because technology is going to put a lot of people out of jobs, and we are going to have to really change our thought process about survival and, again, surviving and thriving. So to be able to work together, to collaborate, to exchange, whatever the case may be, is going to be very, very, very important.
I think what it's going to do, it's going to not only destroy some jobs, but also create jobs as well, or create positions for people. I mean, very similar to the pandemic has,
I think
created business owners, some millionaires, a couple of billionaires. Right. It's gotten people off the hamster wheel of, I'm at this job. I know I don't like this job. And it's past the point of, I'm doing this job for survival. I'm just doing it because this is my regular everyday. So when you unplug, it's like you do a hard reset. So when you unplug that, a lot of people, something snapped in their heads, and like they thought, you know what? I've been telling myself for years I need to do this. Now I have the perfect excuse to do it.
Right.
And
I have the resources.
I have the resources. Yep. I have the motivation. I have everything that's going to push me, and it's a do or die thing now.
I agree. I like that. I can dig it. I like it.
I think it's very hard to get something off the ground when you're comfortable. Like, there's no threat. There's no you don't get the butterflies in your stomach if you're completely comfortable. I can't see ever really growing something out of pure comfort. You don't have to. There's no problem, so why create a solution type of thing.
Right. Absolutely. Sometimes you have to get in that hot seat.
You do.
Start moving around. Yep. I like that.
And
Okay.
And speaking
But
of
yeah,
hot
I mean,
seat,
I use chat GPT and
yes.
the AI. God knows I'm not an expert, but it is extremely helpful. Extremely
Yes.
helpful. It's a great resource.
When used
So,
responsibly.
To use responsibly. Absolutely. Like all things. And it's just another, avenue of change. So
It is.
it's going to happen. It's going to happen with or without us. So
It is.
got it. Yep.
What I'd like to do, I like to
Uh-huh.
switch things up a little bit. So I have 3 segments that I want to introduce you to, right?
Okay. Go ahead.
So the first segment I like to call lucid dreams. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
have you ever, this is the disclaimer, have you ever lucid dreamt?
Define lucid dream for me.
So a lucid dream, in simplest of terms, is essentially when a person becomes aware that they are in a dream and that they
All the
are
time.
actively making edits and changes in that dream while still being asleep, unconscious, and dreaming. But they are conscious in that dream. I bring
Yes.
this into the show in reference to using that analogy in reference to, we've all had dreams and aspirations to do something great, to do something bold. And it went from being a dream to the point to where we were making conscious decisions with that dream to then see it into a reality. What was like that for you?
Wow. So one of the things with me in dreams that I always talk about, and my friends say I'm fighting it. Someone told me to write it down. When I do, I never really remember my dreams.
Right.
So I have a hard time like having a dream and getting up the next morning and actually remembering what happened. But what I have identified with me in dreams is that I can realize that I'm in a dream. And if I don't like the things, not necessarily that I can change it, but if I don't like the things that's going on, I can come out. It's almost like, okay, I don't want to play this game anymore.
Yeah, let's
wake
turn
up
this
now.
channel.
So I have become very good at identifying, I don't like the way this is going. I don't want to do this anymore. Versus, kind of changing the trajectory and being the controller, of the dream. But being able to identify that, okay, I'm here now, and I have an option. I have a choice that I can do this or decide on not doing it anymore.
So you've actively been that person that if you don't like the way something is progressing in a dream, that you've backed away and just let it play itself out, would you say?
Yep. Or just end it. Just nope.
Okay.
I don't want to do this, and just wake up. Yes, I've become very good at that, but I cannot remember the dream. But I can be in the dream and realize, okay, that happened. No, this is not real. Nope, I don't want to do this no more. It's time to unplug.
Right.
Essentially, like if you were in the Matrix, I would just unplug. Like, nope, I don't want to do this anymore.
What happens if in the rarity of cases that a lot of people can't unplug and they find themselves essentially falling in line and doing the same, stuck on repeat, kind of like that scratch on a CD that just constantly skips over, repeat,
The hamster wheel.
Yes.
The hamster wheel. Now, are we talking about a dream or reality?
It seems as though we're referencing both.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Huh. But this goes, for me, I always say it starts with awareness, right?
Yes.
Because, what I identify in a dream, that I'm in a dream. And so at that point now I have a choice that if I want to continue to move on and see what happens, or, I may even have the choice to control, to understand that this is my dream. I can control this.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a choice, or the choice is to wake up. But if there is no awareness, I think a lot of times that's where that hamster wheel comes along.
Yes.
Because one thing about the mice or the hamster is that some people say they're stupid or whatever. I love animals, and I don't think that's true a lot of times. But it's the identity that, hey, like I have a rabbit at home, and she loves her cage. And if I open her cage, she'll rarely come out if I open it from the top. But if I open it from the side, she's coming out. But she doesn't want to jump out the top. Because I think she just doesn't have that awareness of, if I jump out, one, is it a safe place? What am I coming into? And do I even have the ability to do these things? So I think it really...
Yeah, it could also really be that a lot of people are comfortable with having a routine.
Comfort.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of people are comfortable with having a routine, and that's usually, we talked about the difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur, but that's usually the difference between an entrepreneur and the person that chooses not, because entrepreneurs are usually okay with being a conductor.
Mm-hmm.
Versus someone that may not be as comfortable. Yep.
Yeah, because I would assume that a business owner, as you said, a business owner relieves some duties amongst themselves and delegates those duties to others. So there is a control surrender in a way, where you do have to take more of a passenger seat in some instances, and just to not spread yourself thin. Whereas an entrepreneur, you're probably doing all the jobs.
Correct. Or you're an entrepreneur that does none of the jobs.
Yes, that is very.
Is also, yep, that's also an entrepreneur. You may be an investor.
Absolutely.
And you have,
counts.
No hands on anything.
And that in itself is a major position on its own as well, that very few can trip over and fall into something like that as well. So yes, that counts. That absolutely counts.
Yep. Oh yeah. There's so much complexity.
Oh yes, it's never cut and dry. I think that's what makes it attractive. There's no cut and dry, one-stop shop type thing. Okay.
I totally agree. Yeah. So I hope I answered the question.
Oh, 100%. Like you unraveled it, put it back together, and cut it up again. That was it.
Okay.
My next point would be the tipping point, right? So.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, let me ask you, how familiar are you with what a canon event is?
Wait, say it again?
How familiar?
I feel like I'm in a trivia contest.
Oh, yes. How familiar are you with a canon event?
Canon event. I am not familiar. Explain yourself.
All right. So, for some of my comic book geeks and nerds out there, if you are lightly familiar with a lot of superhero storylines and dynamics, a canon event is essentially, it's the one difficult moment that catapults a person into becoming the person that they were destined to be. So it's basically the proverbial shove off that cliff, like what was the thing in your life that told you to either take yourself more serious or take your venture more serious? What was it that catapulted the thing for you?
Okay, so I'll say this. I don't think it happens once. It may happen several times.
Yes.
But I remember maybe my first, what I would consider instance, is working at the prison. And I talked about me being a criminal justice major. And one of the things I did, I worked at a faith-based prison.
Okay.
There was over 1,000 religions. I had no idea. That were practiced on site.
Wow.
And that were identified. And so I was communicating with people of with different religions that I had never heard of in my life, but I learned so much because I also worked in the chapel, and I also worked in the library, and I also worked in the law library. And I will say this, I felt as though those were some of the smartest people still. And I worked in academia at the university. Some of the smartest people that I ever met in my life. But that was a turning point for me. I don't know if you remember, but I said also that was a very heavy time for me as far as energy, because you're dealing with people at some of the lowest times in their lives. But I learned a lot. And I think that's the time where you say the red pill, the blue pill. That's the first time I think I had the option of choosing which pill. And I chose the higher road. And I think that would be maybe one of the first.
Oh, so you chose the red pill. Gotcha. Okay.
I chose the red pill.
Not hating it.
Haven't been able to unplug since. I didn't try it a couple times.
Isn't that interesting that only really in today's handful of years that became popular? Because prior to anything Matrix talk, you were considered a nerd and lame.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorite movies. I tell you, Matrix and Harry Potter, if I had to pick two.
Yes.
And if you made me pick one, I'm going with Harry Potter. But Matrix and Harry Potter was something that I could watch over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, the entire saga.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. You said that you feel like you're in a trivia show. Where you're definitely gonna feel like one, because my last point.
You got one more.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
It's called the hot seat.
I'm ready. Okay, I just sat down too, so I'm ready.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna fire off some questions, and you try to answer as quickly as possible, and you give me your take. Okay.
Okay, now you make me nervous. Okay, go.
These are not named. Well, they're named, but they're not numbered. So I couldn't tell you exactly how many they are. So I'll try to do my best to be as concise as possible. Okay. All right, Here we go. All right. Worst job you ever had?
Worst job, I would probably say correction.
Okay. Is there anything you regret deeply?
Yes, deeply. I don't know about that. Okay. I'm going to say no.
Good. First happy memory in business.
First happy memory in business. Wow. First happy memory in business. That's a tough one. First happy memory in business. I'll say, and I think I'm just really grabbing something, but I'll say starting my second business or picking up my food truck. That was a very, very happy moment.
Very good.
Which was my second business.
Okay. What are your 3 biggest goals right now?
Wow. My 3 biggest goals is, and I'm thinking in my head because I actually have this written down, but one of them is to become I call serial entrepreneur, which I don't consider myself right now, but I want to get into real estate.
Yes.
Whether it be an investor or whatever the case may be. Also, I
Okay.
would like to franchise. We talked about franchise, so I would like to bring Juice Bar to level that where it is ready to be franchised. But
Okay.
I also want to have juice bars all over Florida. That's just the start. But of course, all over the United States.
Very good.
And number 3,
Mm-hmm.
one of my biggest goals, and I'm probably saying this backwards because I put my businesses first, which it should have been opposite, which me. But I just want to have balance. We talked about a lot of things today, but I don't want to lose myself in the hustle and bustle of whatever it may be, because I feel like that's one of the things in 2023 that I did, that I put my businesses over myself, but I can't pour into my businesses if I don't take care of myself.
Exactly.
So I want to find that balance of like being, I asked you about happiness, but I want to do those happy things, and I want to exercise, and I want to, eat healthy. Like, I don't want to take those things away in order to be successful. And so, yeah.
Okay. What are you afraid of?
I'll tell you the first thing that comes to mind when you said that, and I'll say failing.
Failure?
Failure, yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with that because that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay. If you had 25 hours in a day from the 24 hours, how would you spend that 1 hour?
In meditation and prayer.
Okay. What is the ultimate relationship deal breaker for you? In business or ever? Anything?
Lack of integrity.
Integrity. All right. Do you have a motto or a life mission?
Pay it forward.
All right. Common misconceptions people have about you?
All of them. Many.
All of them. Okay. We'll take that. Many is a good answer. Many.
Yeah, many. I think, and I'll elaborate on that just a little, but I think because on the outside, I seem to have a very hard exterior. I'm a Scorpio. But I'm way more kinder than I appear to be. So, yeah.
I figured that.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, I figured that. And for various reasons, I picked up, I'm a people watcher. So I think I picked that up from meeting you. So I
we actually had conversation.
Yes, that is
I think
true.
not only are you a people watcher, but you are not afraid to pierce. Like, let me see what's in there.
Yeah, I'm inherently nosy. I will say that.
Yeah.
I am an inquisitive person, so.
Yeah.
So I'll attribute that credit. Yes. Okay. What is? Let me see what. Okay. One word your friends would describe you.
Mean.
Mean. Okay. Mean. All right.
Or straightforward, because my sister calls me mean, but the meanness comes from me being straightforward.
Gotcha.
Like, you just say it how it is. Yeah, that type of thing.
Straightforward. Okay. Straightforward.
Yep.
What makes you uncomfortable?
People.
Good. That makes sense. Okay. And let's see. Got you. If you earn $10,000 every day, how would you spend it if you only had 2 hours?
If I earn 10,000 every day, how do I spend the 10,000 in 2 hours? Why would I spend it?
Essentially, if you only had 2 hours to spend it.
I would invest it back into however I earned it.
Okay. A moment in life that you would redo and why?
A moment in life that I would redo. Wow. I kind of go back to that regret question. A moment in life that I would redo, and I don't know about a moment, but I felt as though being in my younger self, I think I would have been more strategic in life, versus taking the higher freedom role. I would have probably been more studious.
Okay. And the why?
The why? Because I think things now that I'm older, I think that we talked about sacrifice. So I probably would have been more successful had I took those sacrifices in academia or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
Very good. What movie character do you identify with the most?
Someone just told me that I identify with Phoebe and Charm, but I identify the most as a character, and look, I'm speaking for myself now. Hermione Granger in Harry Potter.
So intrusive thought.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. Okay. Wow. That's not one that you actually hear often. That's pretty awesome. Okay. All right. Coffee or tea?
Wait, coffee?
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Wise choice.
I say that with judgment.
What game would be better for fun if you added alcohol to it?
Are you giving me options, or you just want me to pick one?
Just pick one.
What's the game when you get on the ground with all the spots and you have to?
Twister?
No, the one you have the pad on the ground, it has the circles, and you have to put your hand and feet. Which one is that?
If it's not Twister,
Twister. Yes,
it Twister?
It's Twister. Yes.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Yes.
Okay, absolutely.
Twister.
Okay. In the event of a zombie attack, what is your weapon of choice?
AR-15 with an extended clip.
Oh, she's been to the range, y'all. She knows.
I have.
Okay. All right. Fame or wealth?
Wealth.
All right.
Wealth.
Okay. This is a would you rather question. Would you rather be hated or ignored?
Ignored.
Okay. Have you ever lied to make a sale or a service of a product?
Mm, I'm gonna say yes.
All right.
I started in online customer service, selling line plans and lines and
Gotcha.
phone services. Yeah.
No judgment here. No judgment
No
here. Let's see. If you could time travel, where would you go?
time travel. Back to my grandma's kitchen.
Grandma's kitchen. All right. What is your favorite guilty pleasure TV show?
I'm not a big TV watcher.
Okay. It
Guilty
could be
pleasure of a
streaming, just YouTube, like anything, just show.
Wow, no, that's a tough one. And it's only because I would have to go to an old sitcom. Wow, we went there. Charm.
Charm. Very good show. Very familiar with it. All right. Let's see. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
If I could have a superpower, it would be I would say to be invisible. And ideally it would just be to be as you say, nosy, a fly on the wall. And also to escape sometimes, just not to be present.
Okay. All right. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
Oh, you hater.
Since I was a little kid.
Okay. All right. What is your go-to ritual to unwind after a long day?
A cup of ginger hibiscus tea with honey.
Tasty.
That's almost every night.
All right. And do you believe in having a plan B when it comes to business?
Yes. I believe in having a plan B or being open in life. But yeah.
Okay. Very good. That was the last question. You did wondrous. Definitely got
Thank you.
A rapid fire getting to know you and everything like that. So no, there is no cash prize. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Full disclaimer. After the fact.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I want to wrap things up. I think we touched on a lot of nice, very intriguing and interesting topics that I felt like was very much needed. And I know we had talked about this earlier. I'm glad we were able to actually, have a sit down and really just dive into, some of the things that you're working on. And just so, even for your audience to be able to get a deeper glimpse into, who you are and the mind behind those amazing products that you have.
Absolutely. Hey.
All right. Well, much
thank
appreciate
you so much for having me. Look, I know we talked about this a while back, but thank you for the platform and creating a platform.
Yes.
For conversations, because sometimes we need more real talk. We need more real talk.
The art of conversation is almost extinct, it seems.
Yep. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. This is Burn Bridges, brought to you by The Creative Catalyst. I am Michael Crown, and you all have a good night.